Hello, Poly Sci-Fi here, and not sure why this topic came to mind today, but capitalism and how it affects the world. So I'm here living in the United States of America, and I love capitalism. Is that right? You bet you. When you're on top, you love being on top. Why wouldn't you love being on top? But the problem is, when you're on top of the pyramid, there are all these other people underneath you, and it takes a pretty big heart and mind to even look down a little bit to see what's happening down there. All the people that are getting stomped and smushed, and all the people really trying hard to scratch their way to the top. Do I think things have changed and that we have a more level plateau now than ever before and that it's spreading out? Yes. We don't have slavery, both in America or in other parts of the world, or forced labor, or serfs and peasants, having to work themselves to death. Um, So I would like to think and hope that there's a growing middle class and more opportunity for everybody. And I think that's the really positive light to see. But at the same time, there's still that pyramid effect going on in a huge way with capitalism. I mean, what is capitalism? It's the country that has amassed more wealth and power, in a lot of ways, power, and it somehow keeps that by enticing other nations to grow with it and or towards it. And this more powerful big brother country invests in other, they used to call them third world countries, whatever that meant. These countries with less resources or less monetary or other powers in the global economy, and they invest in them to be able to produce either foods or other services or products that a different country needs, or the raw materials for it. And they see that as a chance for economic opportunity for its peoples. Its peoples of these other countries are impoverished, they're starving, and for some reason they really love to make babies in a lot of these countries. And it's really strange that the highest up one would not want to make a lot of children. I feel like it's desire. There's so much desire for wealth and power when you're near the top. Even after you have it, you just want more. And having children would somewhat reduce your ability to invest. Or another big reason in America is because the parents want to live their life. It's a very independent country. But I just find it strange that the lower countries are making all these children, Africa, Southeast Asia, and yet the higher up countries don't. Right? Even though for the most part they have like more room, right? More physical land. Um, but that's what capitalism is. And I got here a couple of these guys, couple of iPads. I never use either one. I guess they're both my wife's. I don't know. One iPad, right? Oh wow, this super cool, hip, trendy thing. I love the environment. I'm going to save the environment. I'm going to use my iPad to do research and to do presentations on the environment. Well, this thing alone stripped a pretty good chunk of the earth to get these parts. I mean, they have a nice aluminum shell or whatever it is, the plastic cover that has to go on top of the aluminum shell, some kind of plastic that you put over the screen to protect the screen. The glass, I guess glass isn't that big of a deal, right? And then the internals of those computer parts, right? The strip mining that occurs to get those raw earth materials that are needed to make these computers. And now what do we have? We have this silly revolution again for these young people who think they're saving the environment by going to these battery-powered cars. Those battery-powered cars have to be charged. And charging something and then running it is I mean, I guess it is a lot more efficient than a internal combustion engine, which is horribly inefficient, right? At the maximum, it's like 15% energy efficiency when it combusts. I don't know how much energy efficiency there are in these batteries. They seem to think they're a lot better, so I'll give it that. But you just still have to actually charge them from a power source. It's not just some magical like power. I'm glad they don't have emissions in the car, but they have emissions at the factory that made the energy for the device. It's okay if you have like a cleaner oil factory rather than a coal factory, but there's still emissions from an oil factory. I mean, It's just silly how much, they euphemize or cover up what's really happening. And the bigger, much bigger situation here that I want to focus on is still this strip mining. You see these difficult to look at pictures, not difficult because of what they might be, but because they just look like they're edited fake news. And they might be, I'm not really sure. It's really hard to get the whole picture, right? I mean, it really is. But I'm sure that somewhere in the earth there are people mining and digging tunnels and blowing up rock and putting people in there, and people are suffering, and it's not a very nice job, and I doubt they're making very much money at all for these, most, I don't know, most profitable, but most capital company in the world is paying people that walk down holes and dig and bring up little rocks, and you know, how long can this go on for? I don't know. So, I mean, we have this thing called capitalism, which is what? It's a desire for wealth. It's a desire for more. It's a desire for power in the global stage. We have that going on. We've had population growth as a world total, even if you have a relatively mild population growth, right? Every two people have 2.1 children or something like that. That's pretty reasonable. If everybody did that, I think we'd have reasonable growth, but instead you have some that don't, and then others that have a lot more than that. And I believe overall the population growth is slightly higher than that. But when you have so many people already, that really adds up. You have these weather conditions that are changing, and I guess this is where this came from. I was thinking about like these people who want this unemployment benefit because of COVID, and then I was thinking about people who need economic assistance because of hurricanes and tornadoes and wildfires, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, if this is just going to happen all the time now, you can't just keep bailing every single situation out every single time. It's almost like you benefit from being in one of these bad things. All of a sudden, a wildfire comes through, and someone's just going to buy me a brand new house somewhere else. Or all of a sudden, something happens where I lose my job, and all of a sudden, I just get paid to sit at home. I feel the pain. I know it's probably really terrible, and maybe I don't even really feel the pain, right? I'm sure it is a terrible experience, and I'm not trying to downplay that or say that it isn't a horrific thing. I'm just trying to say that you don't need to euphemize and make everything just pure and no, this is heroin, this is dope, this is not feeling, this is not existing as a living being. And capitalism certainly isn't this doped up thing. I'm not really sure how that, really socialist system got mixed in with this really capitalist system. So I still don't understand how America is so successful and so desirable when there's these two extremist things, right? You have socialism and capitalism that are somehow running 50-50. We're really not finding ground in the middle. It's like some people run socialist stuff, some people run capitalist stuff, and somehow it still works out. So I hope by continuing to explore these ideas, I'll understand it better myself. So capitalism is, in theory, pretty terrible, right? I mean, I prefer the libertarian approach. Like, what are we saying? We're saying we don't want a lot of government interference. We want people to make smart decisions. We want people to realize they're one race living on one planet. If you live in a different country, if you speak a different language, that's great. That's culture. But you are one race living on one planet. You can think all you want about space. That's just nothing. That should be nothing in your mind. We are living on one planet. This is the planet. It has to be sustained. I'm not exactly saying I agree with the Green New Deal or Greta and her points of view, because we just don't know how much time it will be. And I'm not just talking about climate change. I'm talking about capitalism and these systems that are in place. I mean, do you really need 2 iPads? Do you really need to have your stock double every 4 years? I mean, how unrealistic is that? Where all those poor people are still poor and they haven't gotten anything, and they've been working themselves to death to get you your parts for your iPad or to grow some rice for you to eat that you buy for next to nothing at the store, and then you complain about how it went up 10 cents. And these people aren't even getting raises. I don't understand it. Where's the dignity? Where's the equality? Where's the one race, one earth? I feel like it's not here. So how would this work out in utopia? I just felt like I went on a rant today. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to really process and feel, and over time, please comment below, and let's figure it out.